Look, as writers, I get it. The struggle is real. Staying positive in a terrain filled with rejections and ghosting and querying and disappointments and contests is so tough to keep a positive attitude when things aren't going the way you want them to go. You know, you've written a great script, you've written a great story, a novel, a book, and you really believe in the product. And you put yourself out there, you query agents and publishers and studios, and you set up networking meetings, and you do all the things you're supposed to do. And when nothing happens, it is just soul crushing. But I'm here to offer a different perspective on it. If you look at it as tactical, you can stack up the little wins and form a strategy and see over time how your strategy is elevating you closer and closer to the goal. Yeah, it'd be great if overnight your script became a film, but it's just not how it works. I mean, if you look at the track record of some of the most famous films, it took them 8-10 years to get made. So if you look at your own career, your own piece of work that you're trying to sell, and you stack up all of the things you've done for it, you might be able to find a strategy. You might be able to find and see where you have kind of gone this way on the graph. Let's do a case study. My first novel, Mechcraft. Mechcraft is a science fiction thriller involving nanotechnology and a bizarre cult and a whole lot of action. So the idea came to me in 2014 is when I first had the initial spark of an idea based on a medical article I had written about nanotechnology. I wrote the script. I fell in love with it. I thought it was great. I thought this is the one. I thought this is for sure going to be it. And it didn't take off like I wanted it to. It did well in contests. I placed quarterfinals, semifinals. It got me meetings, and I had meetings with some agencies and a couple studios, and I was told the same thing over and over is, hey, we love the idea, we love this, but it's too expensive to risk on an unknown property. There was no IP based on it, and so they were not interested. And this was the beginnings of Hollywood's love affair with IP. And it was very disheartening. And a good friend of mine in the industry said, hey, convert it to a novel, try and get it published, try and build a fan base, and then those same studios and agents and executives will come to you to take it up. So didn't want to do it. I just spent so much time on the screenplay. The last thing I wanted to do was convert it to a novel. But in the end, he was 100% correct. And so I took some time, converted the screenplay to a novel, which is no easy task. I thought it'd be simple, but no, it was a tremendous effort. And I applaud people who do it. I've done it a few times since, and I will continue to do it. But it is not as simple as it sounds. So, finished the novel, did some great rewrites. I paid for a professional editor, best money I ever spent, and that got it published through at the time, a hybrid publisher, where I crowdfunded to get the money, to secure the money, to then give to the publisher to publish it, and it did fine. They honored their commitment. They professionally published it, and it was on Amazon. It did a bestseller. It ranked #1 a couple times, and then it was time to go to work. Then the pandemic hit, and by go to work, I mean I started writing the sequels. I'd always intended Mechcraft to be a trilogy of films, but now I figured, well, it's going to be a trilogy of books. So in the year, over the course of 2020 and 2021, I wrote 2 books. The sequel, Mechcraft Disruption, and then the third book, Mechcraft Cataclysm. And I found a new publisher, and they were a regular, like an indie, but more traditional publisher, no hybrid stuff. And they wanted not only the sequels, but they wanted the rights to the first book as well. So I pulled the rights from the original publisher, got them over to the new publisher, and they published all 3 books. It was wonderful. And did some marketing with them, and those books shot to #1 multiple times. And yet I still wasn't getting the attention that I was hoping for. I wasn't getting the big sales and the big crowd and in the industry looking at it going, oh, hey, we want to grab this. It still wasn't happening. So again, ran into brick walls of disappointment. But those little wins for Mechcraft led to other work for more screenplays and even more short stories and books being published. So I started getting work thanks to the Mechcraft books. And that ended up getting me a couple of writing projects, one a sci-fi TV pilot, one a sci-fi screenplay that is now in post-production, invited to do short stories on anthologies, and last year a fantasy adventure novel set in a Dungeons and Dragons world, but all based at the core on the success of Mechcraft. And now, coming up in hopefully 2025, possibly 26, there will be a Mechcraft tabletop role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons, but in the Mechcraft universe. And so the lesson is, while I'm not getting it where I need it to be yet, the little wins are stacking up, and they're building this tactical fortress of IP, intellectual property, for Mechcraft. Mechcraft has 3 books, 3 audios, a side story, short story, and soon a tabletop role-playing game. All that helps to build the case for a studio or an entity, anybody to grab it, buy it, make it. And that's what we all want, right? At the end of the day, that's what we all want, is to have our stuff made into films, TVs, or become best-selling novels. And so take your little wins as you get them, rack them up, and see how you could strategize and build like your pieces on a chessboard. And that's kind of what I'm doing with Mechcraft and my other projects that I've got going on. So if any way you can expand on the universes you're building, do it. And you will find that things are not as bleak as they feel. So, the disappointment will still be there, but if you've got the tactical strategies in place, you will succeed. Thanks. And of course, for more screenwriting talk, author talk, entrepreneurship, come link up on my hub. I've got a Substack that I'm building, and Substack now is more than just a mailing list. Now they've got a Twitter-like thread that you can post onto. It's got groups, it's got mentorships, it's got podcasting, even all built into one app. So I'm really moving my entire hub of social media efforts over to Substack. So I'll put the link in here somewhere, and go ahead and go in there and follow me, and we'll do some more work together. Thanks.